What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Running and Gunning podcast with your host, Justin Sinan. So stoked to have you joining me tonight. We got a killer episode for y'all. I hope you guys brought your notepads with you. I got Austin Stone from Kansas. Austin owns a improvement, a whitetail strategy, kind of whitetail improvement. No, I'm totally butchering that, but what a consultant. Okay, there we go. I
Consultant.
got it out. All right. Enough of that. So we were fortunate enough to meet here locally. He attended just a small outdoor show here local to where I live at, and got to meet him. We've been kind of like, we've kept up with each other's content online, and Austin, you do an awesome job with all your content. Super educational, man. So I know when we ran into each other there, I was like, dude, I'd love to have you on the podcast, and here we are. So how's it going, man? What's going on tonight?
It's going great, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm glad we were able to finally make it happen. And I was pretty stoked when you came up to the booth at that show. Like you were saying, we've kept up with each other's content for a long time, and when you finally actually get to meet each other, it's kind of nice. So it's put a face to the content and actually get to hang out for a little bit. Everything's going good, man. I can't complain. It's been a busy day, been running around, checking things off the list one after another, and
Yes, sir. Man,
it's
I really appreciate you joining me. I know, you just purchased, what did it just go under contract like yesterday, a house?
we just closed. So
Okay.
so it so we just went we already through the contract process, and I mean we took ownership of it yesterday, and now begins the projects and the moving process.
Yes, sir. Well, it doesn't stop. I can tell you that. We moved out here to Kentucky. I think you know the story, but I mean, we moved out here from Maryland, so we had a pretty long drive, and that was about 5 years ago, right around this time. So it goes by quick, man. It's like every year, it's like little improvement here, one thing at another, and now we have a little homestead. We've got ducks now, chickens,
Love
greenhouse.
it. Love
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not. Yeah. You catch me on the right day, I'll tell you how much I love it. I mean, it is what it is. The honey-do list never stops.
Yeah, yeah, no,
But
we're pretty stoked to get down to where we're at. We're going to a good little community that down there, and I know of some people that are from that area, so it'd be kind of fun to connect and build relations and network in the community down there.
that's awesome, man. I gotta ask, what did you move? Strategically, was this a tactical approach move here, or what?
No, not quite. This was actually we just what we wanted to do. This was between her and I our goal location, which is great.
Okay.
I would say probably the tactical approach move happened about a year and a half ago when I jumped across the line from Missouri to Kansas.
All right. All right.
That
I
was the
love
tactical approach move.
it. So, did you guys just rent for a while you were out there till you found a house?
Yeah, we've been renting for a while and saving and just keeping working towards the process, and started looking a few months ago and just see what's out there and hoping we could find something we were looking for, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on that. I know it's a lot of headache, moving and doing all that good stuff, but it's one of those things, man. It's awesome being a homeowner, and being able to, do whatever you really want with the property. I'm really excited, man. I actually was just trying to purchase my preference point for Kansas,
Oh, sweet.
and I don't know, like, if you've had issues like I've had, but I was really struggling to find where to purchase my preference point online. Now, I know this is off topic, but
hmm
I mean,
Um,
have you had any experience with that?
so I've never bought preference points for Kansas. The first time I hunted Kansas, I just put in for the draw, and I was lucky enough to draw with zero preference points. Um, Iowa, I'm pretty familiar with buying preference points because that's I've been doing that, and they make it pretty simple with Iowa. It's just
Yeah,
a purchase process. You know what I mean? It's like a $67 preference point.
right.
So
Yeah.
I can't educatedly tell you how to go about getting a preference point for Kansas. I I
Well, I
think the
already
can.
have one. I
I was
got
gonna
one last
say,
year,
oh, okay, yeah,
and I was hoping to have like 2 points for Kansas,
hmm,
and then probably hunt it next year was like my main goal.
okay, yeah,
Um, but I just don't know. Like, it's very strange. Like, I even made it. I marked it on my calendar. I think yesterday they opened up so you could purchase your preference point,
okay,
and I don't. It's not. It's just not obvious. But that's not your fault.
interesting.
I just wanted to know if you actually had any pointers for me, because I honestly like was getting a little frustrated with it. Like,
I I
maybe I got to do it
honestly,
on my PC. I'm not sure.
yeah, actually, that may be if you tried. I know I've run into issues sometimes if I try to use my mobile,
Hmm.
and it doesn't bring up all the menu options like it will on my computer. So I
I
know
gotcha.
I know I have ran into those issues before. So that may be something to actually try.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a run, man. I don't know. When we get done with this episode, I'll jump online and I'll let you know how it goes. But hopefully it's
Well,
easier than it was on the phone,
if you can
because
get out there, get out here, we'll have to set up a deer camp.
I would love to, man. I'm not asking for anything. You know, I want to go hunt some public and just have some fun. But I was kind of looking around, like Zone 8, I believe is what it was. I don't know if
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
I
was
hunt
told
that.
that
I
was
hunt 8.
okay.
Yeah.
So a guy I actually went on my elk hunt with, he lives out there. We weren't friends until I did this elk hunt. Like, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know him from Adam. But he's a super good guy, and really appreciate him. He was like, "Man, you're welcome to come here, like stay at my place. I got 80 acres, and it just butts up to public, and we're like way back in the public." And I'm like, "All right, man.
Sweet.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
that sounds great. So
Heck yeah.
might be a plan B."
No, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, awesome. Why don't we get into this, man? So I know we talked, a little bit before the episode here, and we're just BSing, and I wanted to kind of get your spin on what people are doing right now, right, and what people are doing wrong. Like, in your opinion, and maybe why don't you give a little bit of breakdown on what you offer with your services for any of our listeners, and like just an overview of the content that you do for guys that might not know you.
So, I own Tactical Approach Outdoors, and we are a whitetail consulting business. So basically, I visit client properties, I put together habitat plans and hunting strategies for client properties, and then I help them implement those plans. So, like planting food plots, trimming access routes, and setting tree stands, placing mineral sites, mock scrapes, anything along those lines, right? And really developing a solid strategy to not only attract deer and keep deer on property as best we can, right? But work with the deer. I feel like a lot of people over complicate things in a lot of ways, and usually the simplest route to take is usually the best. So that's the approach I like to use, and I like to work with the deer versus trying to force them to do something maybe they don't feel comfortable with. And because most of the time, if that buck doesn't feel comfortable doing it in the first place, he's not going to do it no matter how pretty of a food plot you've got. So
Right.
so it's kind of that's what I offer. And most of my hunting is done. I love hunting public land. I've hunted public land my whole life, and it adds a fun spin to it as well, because I feel the pressure concept, people know about it, but they almost forget about it sometimes when it comes to managing their properties. You know what I mean? We get to
Hmm.
thinking about habitat improvements and doing a lot of work on property and forget about the impact that the activity is having on the property. And so it just
Yeah.
depends on what your property is, what it looks like, and your overall goals. So like that, you really can get into a lot of detail as to what's right and what's wrong during this period of time. Um, but really, the best thing you can do is get your work done and get out kind of
Right.
situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Set
it's,
it up so you're there for like a whole day and you're intrusive for that day or
yeah,
maybe two, and then get out of there and just leave it alone.
100%. It's like when we scout public during postseason scouting. I'm extremely intrusive on that one day, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I will walk all up in his bed and
Yeah.
I mean, darn near kneel in it and see exactly what he's seeing, kind of situation. You know what I mean? But get in, collect the information, and get out. Same idea with your work that you do, you know. And I see it a lot, and I hear it a lot where driving on properties doesn't scare deer. Well, if you do it enough, it actually has a negative impact on the animals. And I've seen it where you acquire a piece of land that has a lot of really mature deer bedding on property, and over the next 3 years, it's gradually declined, and you're
Right.
only seeing those deer now during the rut. And typically, it comes down to, well, you have now become the busy neighbor kind of situation. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So,
Yep.
so that's what I'm doing now. I try to, bring a realistic look into my hunting content, coming from a public land perspective, and um, where you didn't have a lot of opportunity, in the sense, a perfect opportunity where you kind of just had to work with what you got.
Right.
So, yeah.
Absolutely, man. No, I think that's great. I think that you being majority of your hunting being on public, you can take a lot of that knowledge and think about how much more woods you're able to cover too. And I know you hunt multiple states,
Yeah.
so I think I've seen a lot of consultants that just strictly know about private land, and I don't think they're now. I'm not speaking for all of them out there. There is a lot of them that are well versed, but I think it. I think you're a lot more educational coming from that background too, because not only do you have that knowledge of private land, but you've got knowledge of public land and how deer are actually, maneuvering away from pressure. So it gives you even more of an edge on that.
Yeah, and
And
it's the kind of thing where, once you take that knowledge and you move it to private, where you can control the pressure and you can
right.
control a few of those other key, ingredients to success, it just your success rates go through the roof at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting to me, like hearing you say that and then backing it with my experiences here in my house. So the first year we had our property, I did a small food plot and I cut in trails. Imagine like a power line that was all grown up with like CRP and like frag grass and just ultimate little hideout area. And I had a little section of woods where there were some trails cut in, and I improved that and I made a food plot and it looked great. The first year had all kinds of mature bucks moving through here. Next year, brain comes to, oh, but I need to make my food plots bigger. We need to make a huge food plot. Cut all the grass out. Yeah. Total idiot. And totally messed things up, man. Like have not had mature bucks. It consistently mature bucks on our property since that. So I really try to help a lot of my buddies to talk about doing that because I feel like we glamorize food plots so much, on the habitat management
Mm-hmm.
scale, and you don't really hear as much about like making a sanctuary of tall grasses and just realistically leaving the deer the heck alone and just making small little plots. I think are more beneficial than big plots. I mean that,
Absolutely.
and you chime in, like you let me know if I'm wrong or
No, no,
you know
you're actually, I mean, completely correct, because when you think about um um public land, you know the deer are there because people are not, right? So like that buck is bedding there because he typically is not getting bumped too often from human presence, right? And if
right.
he does, he can hear them coming, smell them coming, see them coming. He's very well secured in that specific area, right? but still he will not stay there if he continues to get bumped. So
Right.
if you take that idea where he is there because people are not, so now I don't want to be the person that ruins my hunt. That's the mindset I take into my public land hunting. I don't want to be the
Yeah.
reason that I mess that up, that I make him leave, right? So if you
Hmm.
take that same idea and you put it into your habitat improvements, and a major reason he's safe there is not only pressure but also cover, you know. So you have to have a diversity of cover and an ample amount of cover for him to want to bed there and feel safe transitioning throughout the day. You know
Right.
what I mean? So and then you add in some food to that, and then you're just sweetening the pot even more,
Yep.
you know. And then you're smart about how often you're getting in there and accessing it, and your access routes and tree stand placement, they don't, negatively affect another tree stand placement or access route as best as possible. Like, it's not always, there's usually no perfect situation, but if you can, make it all complement each other, basically. You know
Right.
what I mean?
And it's been like, so like I said, we've been here 5 years now, and I'm pretty confident that this year is going to be like the Hail Mary year. I mean, I'm really trying to just, I got all my food plots are kicking ass. Like, they are looking beautiful, man. Got one in the woods, one in another power line. Got three different varieties. So, and I plan on doing some more stuff with them, like once we get into like August and
Yeah.
doing a couple like nice brassica plots and stuff like that. But I'm just excited, man. Like, I feel like I really haven't hunted here much. And I think leaving the pressure off and letting the doe numbers increase here, we've really never had many does, which I thought was very strange. I'm like, man, there's only like a handful of does around here, so I never took a doe. Um, that's a lie. I took one the first year, but other than that, I haven't taken any, and it's really helped, man. It's like the does are really comfortable here. I have had bucks, and I haven't really hunted them because they just haven't been the caliber that I wanted. So we've got plenty of good deer running around. I'm really just hoping that it'll all culminate this year. Maybe I'll get a real good one. We'll see what happens.
Only time will tell, right? You
That's right. Yeah, and it's
stay
kind
consistent.
of a bummer. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer being a podcaster and talking about your property because I feel like I'm just like putting a spotlight on where I live at. You know what I mean? But whatever.
It
It
happens.
is what it is.
As long as you don't have a big sign out front say, "I manage deer, poach my property."
Yeah, yeah. I know. The wife was like, "Why don't you get into something like that?" And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe down the road.
Yep.
I'm just enjoying the filming and stuff and having fun hunting. But it's cool. I mean, how did you actually get started in that? Why don't we get in a little background story, a tactical approach? Like, what made you start it? How long have you been doing it now?
Tactical approach has been an idea, I'd say, since 2017,
Okay.
and the business itself, really, I figured out the route I wanted to take in 2020. That's when
Okay.
it really kind of formed to where we're at now, and it's just kind of evolved over the last 4 years, kind of
Hmm.
where it is today. And a lot of it was a lot of learning, but basically what we were seeing was that there was kind of a gap in the industry, right? And now that gap is really getting filled significantly with these podcasts and YouTube, and the way information is being presented now, different than even, 5 years ago even.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just it Nothing was really tailored to the real world hunter. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
I agree.
and the
It's really
way
shifting lately.
it really has a really good, and I like it. I like that shift because
Yeah.
I didn't feel like everything should be catered to the guy that owns all of this property and has the money to do anything and everything that he can to his property, right? What about the the guy like me who has to do with what you got to do? Like, why can't I see that same success year after year as well? Right. So
Right.
that's
Hmm.
that's where my mind went. And then it went to, okay, what do I need to do and what do I need to learn to make that happen? Right. And
Right.
also, like, through my hunting career, I refused to believe that hunting was 100% pure luck. I just refuse to
Yeah.
believe that. Of course, there's going to be some luck in that, right? But preparation plus opportunity meets luck, right?
Hmm.
So if you aren't prepared thoroughly, you aren't creating any situations that are going to create opportunity, and in turn, the more opportunity created, the more likely you're going to get the chance to have a little bit of luck, right?
Yeah.
So that's what has really driven my strive for knowledge throughout the years and through my hunting career. And I'm very much a why guy, right? You know, okay, this works, but why? Why does that work?
Right.
So you look into, I'm a really big scrape hunter, and I feel like that attention to detail is what makes and breaks the people that really understand how to hunt a scrape. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because you're
Yeah.
looking for 1% of scrapes out there in the woods that you actually want to pay attention to. The rest of them are going to help you collect the intel needed to kill that buck on that 1% scrape. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I saw
Yes.
I saw a little bit of a gap in the industry with the type of information being presented and the way it was being presented. It was very broad, and it
Hmm.
just there wasn't much meat to it. You know what I mean? So that's really what drove the idea to tactical approach. And we've helped a lot of buddies through the years, a lot of friends, and I've had more and more people throughout the years asking me questions and getting into it, and then seeing success on their end, which is kind of fun, shooting their first buck and then
Yeah.
shooting
Yeah.
their biggest buck. We had two conversations about a specific location. Next thing you know, it completely flipped their hunting experience, and they just shot their biggest deer. Like, it's just
Yep.
and you start seeing stuff like that. I'm like, okay, there's something to this.
Right. There's something to what you're
There's
doing.
something,
Yeah.
yeah, there's something
It's not
to
luck.
this, yeah. And
Right.
it's never about the getting rich scheme and stuff like you have to make money to live.
No,
It's
you can
just,
tell. You can tell though. You're passionate, man. Like I mean, I've seen guys that I feel like are in this to just somehow like make a living and make money, and like you, I'm sure you're aware of it too. And
yeah.
it's like
And
it's good to see that you're out there and you care. You know what I
you
mean? Like
usually can
I
tell.
got the yeah.
Yeah. And it's the genuine personality. You usually can tell
Hmm.
the people that are in it for the right reasons and not typically. But and I'm a firm believer in, you find your passion in life and you just chase it, kind of thing. That's
Yeah.
just kind of how my mind works. So, and of course, I'm ate up as all get out with deer hunting. I mean,
No, amen, brother. Amen. Yeah, and I agree with you, man. Like I feel like I saw something earlier today. It's like, man, I just feel bad for the people. I think it was a Sam Sulik. He had mentioned something. He was just like a random, nothing gym motivated or anything like that. He was just like, man, you just need to find something that you care about and just pursue it.
yeah,
Like it's really not, I can't imagine living a life like where even if you don't do what you enjoy doing every day, it's like, man, like you got to have something. And
something to get out
I
of bed
really feel
for.
for people, yeah, that just don't have anything that they're excited about. Or, I mean, let's just be honest. We'd probably have a lot more money if we weren't into hunting
That's not wrong.
because yeah, let's just go there.
Let's be real.
But man, I don't regret it. I mean, it's a hobby that's turned into an obsession that kind of has taught me some really good life lessons, and I've met so many great people.
Yep.
So I have zero regrets, man. And like you had touched on, like when you'd help some of your friends get to that next level and achieve. And it's like, I think that in itself is why I started this podcast. But there's just something about that feeling, man. Like there's no better way to pass it on than that right there. When people like call you and they're so excited to share what they just did, and you had a minor like help in what their situation was, man. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean that's what feeds my obsession, you know, and then you see what you see their brain switch too. You know, once they see
Mm-hmm.
that success, their obsession just went through the roof. And you're like, I know that feeling, right? So it's just
Right.
it's fun because it you kind of feed each other at that point. Even it just makes
It
for a
is.
fun relationship.
And I want your opinion on this too. I feel like those newer hunters that are good, but they're not the best, but they seem to have the best luck. And you know why? Because they don't overthink things. They're willing to just listen to what you say and not get in their head. And they're like, all right, I'm just gonna do this.
Yep.
And it's like it feels foreign to them, and they have success. And then you get down the road, like, and then they're like, they come back to you, and you're like, dude, you're just overthinking it. Like, you don't need me. You don't need any, like, go do it. Go blow that opportunity. Like, go
Yep.
learn. And I think I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I mean, I feel like we all know, like, that we all overcomplicate it at times, especially the
100%.
more knowledge we gain. But why don't you, I would love to hear your opinion on that, man. Like, as a killer, how have you crossed that off in your like journey in whitetail hunting, as far as, you know, I guess not being in your head too much, and like you keep saying about like simplifying things, and your approach is a little bit more simple. Like, break that down. Have you ever really had like problems with being in your head too much?
I mean, to be honest, I still have that problem. You know,
Yeah.
it's a constant battle that just gets a little easier. You know what I mean? It's the
Mm-hmm.
discipline of it. You know, you can go back to you can even take this to throw it into fitness here, right? You start out where you need more motivation, and then it just turns into more discipline. And the longer you do it, you just become more disciplined, and it just becomes easier, right? But you still have your difficult days.
Right.
Same idea. You know, we want this to be simpler than it is at times, you know, especially when you're hitting multiple states and you're just grinding. I mean, you're
Yeah.
walking miles, you're waking up earlier, that you're the first one out of camp, you're the last one back to camp every day. You're just working hard, and it's just doesn't seem to be happening, and you're on just a mega giant, and it just hasn't happened yet. So you get in your head a little bit, and it's important to continue to remind yourself to slow down and chill. You know what I mean? Keep it simple. And
Right.
I'm continually reminding myself to keep it simple, and just increasing my bag of tricks, to allow myself more options, right? To create more
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. So that helps me keep my mind right, is being able to create opportunity where I used to not be able to create opportunity. You know, understanding you not adding the saddle with my hang on. You know, I'm more comfortable in a hang on than I am a saddle. But I have also found out that one, there's going to be a lot of trees that I can't hunt in a hang on. And then two, you know, the saddle allows you concealment and the ability to harvest deer that you otherwise would not be able to harvest because of concealment in that, you know, and then it will never work vice versa. You know,
Right.
you can't beat that. But, you know, understanding the differences in height and just getting to know, and I'm trying to add ground game to it a little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just continuing to add more tricks it to my bag.
I think I think it's because you're well versed. You're not afraid to throw yourself into. And I'm saying this out of because we've talked on the
Mm-hmm.
phone plenty of times
Yeah.
and talked in person, and I kind of know a little bit of a background about you, and it's like I really respect that, and I'm in the same boat. It's like I don't want to just hunt the same terrain all the time.
Yeah.
Like I want to go somewhere, and I don't know, like I'm not going to voluntarily go get my ass handed to me, but like I want to learn something. Like, hey, if I don't kill it, it's okay. Like, I've hunted a lot of flat ground. I haven't hunted a ton of hill country. Around here, I'm very lucky. I mean, around here, it's like a mixture. You can go one way and you're hunting cattle pasture, and you go the other way and you're hunting hill country.
Yeah.
So it's just moving out here from Maryland to Kentucky, it was like a great challenge, and it was like I was able to pick up on it, and the more that you guys do that, the more that you're actually. I think that's the funnest thing about hunting out of state. It's like find a good buddy and go challenge yourself. I mean, if you guys are able to afford the tags and you got the time off, I mean, I think it's just a blast, and I thoroughly feel like I am more in the zone on the hunt than when I'm at my home state because I don't have the wife and the kids kind of mixing up things to oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. My brain is honed in on what I'm doing and what I'm seeing when I'm hunting out of state. And I think it's really helped me grow as a hunter, if you look at the bigger scale of things.
Absolutely. And and I like learning. Like I enjoy trying new things. I enjoy learning new things, and what you just said there with out of state hunting is a big reason that I um have started the pursuit of that whitetail slam. And the reason for that is, yeah, I could hunt 4 or 5 states here in the same general area, right? Same terrain, same type of deer, really no change. I'm just hunting the same type of property in a different state, right? So the purpose of that slam was to actually force myself to pick a state that might be out of my comfort zone. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
get into a different region, and
Mm-hmm.
not only to learn different terrain in a different region, but also you're going to see a different type of subspecies of deer, right? You hear about, you know, obviously southern deer are not as big as what we're going to have here in the Midwest, right? That's typical, but it's not just because they're harder to hunt. It's because they are legitimately a different deer. They're a different
Mm-hmm.
subspecies. So
Yeah.
learning not only the differences from state to state, region to region, and but also the similarities, because deer are still deer no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
There's not some golden horseshoe where hunters from this area are better than hunters from this area because of one thing or another. People discount that deer are still deer. So if you can find the consistencies in that, not only does it make you more of a well-rounded hunter no matter where you go, you can find deer pretty much no matter where you go. So it helps increase that confidence. And if you've got the confidence, it helps you stay out of your head, right? What we were just talking about,
Right.
overthinking
Yeah.
things. If I feel, the more confident I feel going into the hunt, the less I'm in my head. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
like
Oh,
just
absolutely.
chill, be patient. They will come by, right? You've got it
Mm-hmm.
right. Everything is set right. Just be patient. And then knowing that, it's easier to stay out of my head, right?
Yeah.
And then part of what's helped me stay out of my head is creating a lot of options, having multiple properties in the same state, and then having multiple states. You know, I might pull, say I hunt 3 states that year and I only shoot one buck, right? I tag out in one state, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fail for those other states. What I did is I put myself into more opportunities to see the luck that I was looking for, right? So
Right.
that's the way I like to view my hunting. Even if I don't shoot something there I'm learning something. You know what I mean? Maybe it's
Yeah.
I only had 1 week to hunt this state. That's all I had, and I got unlucky with weather maybe for that week, and
Yeah, I mean,
it just
you
didn't work.
can't like sell yourself
Yeah.
short. I mean, sometimes weather
Mm-hmm.
and just deer activity is low. I
Yep.
mean, it is what it is, man. I think that's another exciting thing with hunting out of state is because when you're in the moment and you're there, you feel even more like maybe I should reword it. You feel like I'm way more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, man, if I know like I'm on a specific deer, it's like, all right, boom, like I'm gonna go kill him or bump him out of there. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, one or the other, like, and when you have limited time, I think where here I'll, a little bit like bob and weave a little bit more and be like, all right, well, I'll try this because I don't want to blow him out of the area. And, I've
Yeah.
only got this place to hunt him in. So I don't know. I mean, I think running trail cameras, hunting different states, I mean, you've picked up a ton of information and hunting deer. Do you feel like it's easier to kill a buck in the Midwest versus like killing a deer in the Eastern? I mean, what other areas have you really hunted to compare that to?
So I mean, I haven't gotten too far outside yet. So we've gotten to
Okay.
Kentucky is about the furthest east I've gotten, and um, up north in South Dakota. So we getting a little bit more to a little bit more of the flat plains area to there, where you
Yeah.
got
I
a
imagine
much
that would be
larger
different.
home range, right? So,
Hmm.
and then what's cool too here in Kansas, I actually went further west, and I'm hunting legit plains animals. So
Yeah.
that's been something fun to learn too. Is the difference in the size of their home range?
Hmm.
Last year was tough, just learning. These bucks out here, they don't have a 60-acre home range that I'm seeing
No.
in
Yeah.
Kentucky, even. You know what I mean? And they've got probably a 5 to 7 mile circle that they're
Hmm.
running, and it's fun to learn that and figure out how to keep up with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And say, hey, they're bedding out in the open more than here because there's more open than they will back at this location because here they're just more exposed, right? So it's
Yeah.
interesting to kind of learn the different where they're feeling safe in different areas like that, where glassing further west in Kansas is a lot more valuable than tree stand hunting, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
having both in your bag of tricks. Where if you need to glass them up and go get them, figure out a move, then you know how
Right.
to do it. But if you also know that he's spending some time in an area that you can actually set up on him, then you can set up on him. So it's
Right.
it's just kind of it's putting enough in your pocket that um you can use.
Yeah.
But
I'm still waiting on that giant to show up out in the field and give it up to me. But man, he just I don't know, just hasn't happened yet. It's been weird, man. I think this year on one of the main farms that I glass a lot. I think there was a lot of poaching going on that I just wasn't aware of. So it's kind of a waste of time. I spent a lot of time trying to glass a deer that and I found out soon enough that they were not coming out to these fields like I thought. So I mean that's just an outside source. I mean, there's not much we can really dive into about that, but I would love to be able to do it, man. Honestly, it's a huge bucket list thing for me to actually pull it off and spot one and glass him in a field and go kill him the next day.
yeah,
Um, but I've found the buck that I want to kill, but I haven't been able to get permission, and stuff like that's happened.
yeah,
So maybe this year it'll change, but I don't know, man. I'm excited. Now that turkey season's kind of exiting stage left, it's like it's really about that time to get things going. And I think my main focus this year is really going to be putting my scrapes, getting them established way ahead of time, and getting cameras set on them. And I think I'm going to do a little bit more stuff with mineral this year than I have in the past. I did a little bit more last year, and it really I was just blown away at how long some of these bucks would still hit the minerals.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know, man. Like, have I been missing out on that my whole? It's just, is it like a mineral deficiency around where I live versus like where I grew up in Maryland? They just never really hit the minerals the way they do here. I don't know how else to put it.
It could be, it's the same idea. It's the same reason that there's going to be certain regions of a state that are going to create larger deer every year. And most of the time that follows the Mississippi, right? It follows floodplains. And not only is it
Mm-hmm.
because there's more food available, but a lot of times there's a nutritional deficiency, which is usually mineral based, right? So yeah, it could be mineral based, and two, that they just taste good to them. So
Yeah.
you want to feed it right now, and you want to let them use it during lactation and antler growth, and give them a chance to create a good nutritional healthy herd. But they'll still hit it throughout the year. They'll need their electrolytes and a few other key ingredients, throughout the season, even though they need it less once they go hard horned, obviously.
Right. What do you like to use? Why don't you give us a little breakdown? I mean, are you using minerals to try to harvest deer, or are you using it strictly for nutritional purposes?
Most of it is nutritional purposes. So I use it quite a bit on client properties if they have a need for it. I won't just throw it out just to throw it out. But I've been using here recently Top's Secret Mineral. That's actually
Okay.
a good. It's a Kentucky-based company. Jason's the owner, and they've got a pretty good product. So it's one of those
Okay.
deals. It's got more of the phosphorus and calcium than most products have, which is really what creates. It's the two most important nutrients and minerals, versus just expensive salt. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the
Yeah.
salt tastes good and the salt's important, but it's not everything they need. So
Yeah.
that's actually, we've seen a lot of success with that mineral. The deer seem to really like it. They just get after it. So so yeah, I've
Do you
seemed to like that
suggest
one.
guys try to find like it? Do you think that it's better to use off market mineral versus like your generic Lucky Buck or like deer cane mixes? Do you think that it's worth like our listeners trying to outsource and find like a smaller brand company, maybe something different, or is that like what they should be looking for is higher phosphorus count and stuff?
I would keep your eyes open. It's unfortunately a lot of big companies start taking shortcuts throughout the years. Once you get big corp involved, and
Right.
a lot of stuff is just an attractant, right? Minerals
Hmm.
not made to be just purely an attractant. So a lot of the deer cane and whatnot, that tends, it even says attractant on it, right? So it's, you
Right. Yeah.
don't just look for the attractant that you're getting after. You're actually getting after a mineral that has what the deer need to create a healthy herd. And then so keep an eye on
Hmm.
the labels. Learn what you're looking for. There's a lot of labels that don't even have phosphorus listed on the label.
Okay.
So, and it's a big reason is because that is a more expensive ingredient of all of it.
Right.
So which makes sense, right? Right, it would be shortcutted.
Hmm.
So I would keep an eye out. If you have a local guy that kind of makes cement mineral, a smaller company, don't just go find anyone just to go find anyone, right?
Yeah.
Make sure
Absolutely.
you're doing your homework. But I wouldn't be
Hmm.
afraid of reaching out and maybe finding something that's a little different than what you see on the big box shelves. That's also
Yeah.
how I like to think too. I don't get brand happy and stuck into something. Well, he uses this, it must be good. Well, why? It
Yeah.
goes back to why, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Right. Because he's getting paid by X amount of dollars for to say this or that. And like,
yes,
I
yes,
think that there's so many more people seeing the smoke through the mirrors, you
yeah.
know what I mean? Um and I don't really think that's a secret anymore. That's like people are just getting paid to market certain products. Well, what, Lee and Tiffany, perfect example with like the crushed mineral and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, it's attractant.
it's attractant.
Yeah, deer are going to come to
Yeah.
it. What benefits does it have for my deer?
And I think that's where a big disconnect is made, is that, well, the deer are digging a hole. It must be good. It
Right.
tastes good, right? It
Yeah.
tastes good and it smells good. It's a good attractant. The
Now,
But does it
go
have
ahead. Go ahead.
everything else that it needs?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's where we have to look into, take a deeper dive into, other than just that the deer like the taste
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Well, in dicalcium phosphate. So, like when I was younger, I tried to make my own
Mm-hmm.
mineral. Like, I got a big 50-gallon drum and like got all this stuff and mix it up, and it was extremely
Yeah.
affordable. I mean, doing it myself. Like, I got the stock salt, dicalcium phosphate, some like apple flavor, and whatever. Mixed it all up. I think it cost me around like 50 or $60, maybe a little more. But the point was, I had like 50 to 80 pounds worth of mineral
Yep.
versus, and it spread all across all kinds of little suburban properties that I had back then. I had like 10 or 12 spots back in the time when I lived in Maryland. So I was trying to get my best bang for my buck, with no pun
Yeah.
intended. And and I mean, I kind of got to realize real quick, like some places they would hit it and some places they wouldn't hit it. And it's like, okay, well, there's something here. Like, there's definitely something else that, you need to have. But now, I mean, I'm glad I touched on that because I wanted to just kind of get your opinion on like, what's the right mineral I really should be looking
Yeah.
at? Cause I mean, there is so many products out there now. It's kind of mind boggling for somebody that, might not know
It gets
what to
overwhelming,
go
doesn't
with.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had great success with Lucky Buck. I'm not out here where I'm not sponsored by a mineral company. I really want to support. I'm sure you've heard of Rack Daddy Minerals.
I think I've heard of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so he's the owner of that is a friend of mine.
Okay.
He's been on here, and I'd like to support him. He's a Missouri boy too,
Okay.
so
Nice.
yeah. So he was trying to, I've been trying to meet up with him. It's like kind of just a shame because I really don't know how much it would cost for shipping to get the amount of mineral that I want to get. So I got to pan that out somehow. But it's just amazing how many companies there are out there now.
Yeah. There's a lot, and really, I feel like it goes for anything nowadays. That now there's, but I like that at the same time, right?
Yeah,
Because it creates a competition, and usually competition leads to higher quality. Because
that's right.
if you have other people competing for that spot, you now have to up your game to stay on top, right?
Yeah,
And
a hundred
that's,
percent.
you know, obviously there's a ton of people doing YouTube, right? YouTube's flooded,
Right.
but there is still a significant ability to stand out on YouTube, and you just do it better. You know what I mean? You keep upping your game. You
Yeah.
stay relatable. Um you stay real. You know what I mean? You find a company
Yeah.
that you like, that you want to support, and not only makes quality products, but really good people. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
what I
Absolutely.
elevate here. I love their climbing sticks. I used their climbing sticks last year, and I'm super pumped to use their tree stand. But just a smaller company that's making waves in the industry, but because they've got quality stuff and they're genuine people. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? So,
Yep.
I like the competition that's being thrown into the industry, because I feel like a lot of stuff had been so kind of low quality because it got to
Yep.
be.
And that's really where you get the new innovative products
Yes,
because I mean everybody's trying to beat everybody to the
yes,
next new thing.
yeah, and it can be overwhelming as a consumer, but also that's great at the same time, because it forces you now to become more educated as a consumer. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's knowing, okay, I'm not just buying this mineral because the deer like to eat it, and that you see the name there everywhere. You look at the label and it has really almost nothing of what the deer actually need to be healthy and grow big racks, right? So it helps that that kind of competition in smaller companies and just being more competitive in the industry has created a fun little environment, and I like seeing it, and and I like seeing new innovative stuff kind of come out through it.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see like what the future holds for mobile
Hmm.
hunting. Like, I mean, have we plateaued? Like, have we hit, the pinnacle of the stand's a stand and saddle's a saddle? And like, it's really interesting to me, especially being, on the inside, with Lone Wolf Custom Gear and like getting to see,
Yeah.
new products and not being able to talk about certain things. But it's like, kind of mind blowing, man. Like just when you think like there's nothing else out there, like here
Something else
comes,
comes, right?
and it's all being made by guys that are just hardcore guys that are just always out in the
Yep.
woods. So just having that mindset of like there's always a better mousetrap
Hmm.
to be made, and it's constantly improving and tweaking your products and not being afraid to try new stuff. I think that's the thing that I'm sure you can relate with like the whole like saddle stand beef, and it's like, man, I don't really care, it's a tool.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
I love having a hybrid setup where I can sit in a stand if I need to, or I can be in a
Yeah.
saddle, whatever the situation calls for, especially when you're going in blind hunting public. Maybe if I know where I'm going and I know the tree I want to be in and it's more ideal for a stand, then absolutely, why would I want to hunt any other
Hmm.
way?
Yep.
So, well, dude, we're getting close to nearing the end, man. I got a question that I like to ask a lot of our guests that we have on here, and that is, what is one of your failures you've had that you feel like really helped create the hunter that you are today? Like, is there one story that sticks out? I know for me, and a lot of other guys, we learn way more from failures than we do successes. So I always love hearing everybody's response to this one.
I would say that it was putting all of my chips into one bag. Putting all of my eggs into one basket, and getting burnt. So
Mm-hmm.
where I trying to remember the exact year here and what deer it was, but the year before I shot a really mature deer, really really nice deer, and man, I saw deer everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. The property was covered in them, sign everywhere. It was beat up, tore up, just gnarly, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna hunt this property next year, right? And I go in, did my postseason scouting. Obviously, I'm seeing all the sign from last year. I'm super pumped, and I get into hunting. I'm following deer, through the September, early October, and I'm getting close to where I feel like I can connect soon. A lot like now the scrapes are opening up, deer are starting to daylight more often, and it's getting good, right? And right when that happened, a bunch of hunters filed in, and sign disappeared. So it's and that they were gone. They got pushed off property.
Yeah.
It
Right.
was the kind of thing. I was there the weekend before, saw a bunch of deer,
Mm-hmm.
like loaded with deer, and covered in them. And the next weekend, I'm like, I got a cold front coming next weekend. This is it. This is it, right? That the end of October time, I got something coming. This is happening. And then a really big group of hunters filed in, and next thing you know, the deer gone. I didn't see a deer there the rest,
Yeah.
hardly, maybe a couple does throughout the year, but they pounded that property so hard that it was gone, and I did not have a plan B. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Oh, I've been
that's
there.
public land hunting. That's
I'm
just part of it, right? But
Yeah.
that's why you need so many options, right? And that
Yeah.
so I would say that was probably the turning point to where I'm at now, is just led to not being afraid to get to so many other properties, you know what I mean? And developing a
Hmm.
solid strategy on each of those properties so that if something happened on plan A, I can fall to plan B and pick things up right where they're at, you know, and not feel like I'm out of the game. I'm still in the
Yeah.
game kind of thing.
No, I love that response, man. What do you feel is your ideal number of plans to have? Like, would you say for some of our listeners have 4 properties that you have a awesome game plan on, or like I know, and I mean that's a stretch for
It's
some
a lot of
people. I mean, I
properties.
know you
Hmm.
have the time. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a lot of scouting. It's a lot going on. I mean, and how do you select what buck you want to go after? Maybe it's not size anymore. Do you feel like are you one of the guys that's going to go after the most killable buck?
It's probably a little bit of both. Um, I like a challenge. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it's awfully hard to pull myself. If I've got a really big deer that I feel is killable, it's really difficult for me to pull off of them and
Yeah.
not give my
Oh,
and not give
100%.
myself an
Yeah.
opportunity to learn. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I
Hmm.
like giving myself probably 3 different properties with a solid plan. Most of the time, I'm hunting big enough properties that I've got multiple different plans on that same property. I like
Yeah.
that option because then I'm not having to completely pull camp and leave, right? So if I've got a big enough property where I can keep multiple plans on that same property, I feel really good. But if I can find 3 solid plans, I feel pretty comfortable that not all 3 probably are going to get blown out. You know what I mean? And
Right.
then
Yeah. You're going
yeah,
to, if you give a law of
if
averages,
the
like,
right, yeah, you just the law of
yeah.
averages, and then it comes down to I only have so much time. You know,
Yeah.
so it with if I'm hunting out of state, well, when am I planning on hunting that state in that property? And then I just set my expectations accordingly. You know, and it's
Yeah.
just
Sounds like a full time job. I
it
mean,
is, but I love it, so it's fun.
absolutely. Oh, no, absolutely, man. Living the
Yes,
dream, dude.
sir.
That's killer. And I mean, it's just awesome for you to be able to go to so many other people's properties too and learn. It's like, I imagine it makes it that much easier for you to go into public and be like, all right, well, I got my spot. All right, we're good
It
here. We're good here.
it
All right,
does.
on to the next
It
one.
does. And you know,
Yeah,
it's fun, you know, when I look at a place on the map, I'm like, all right, deer should be right here. And I mark it and I go there
right.
and a lot of times like, oh, yep, there's a mega scrape right there where my mark was basically.
Yeah,
Or I get there and I'm like,
yep.
man, there's no sign here, period. And then I start looking, I'm like, it's
Mm-hmm.
because I'm finding people sign, right? So
Yep.
it's that fun game of, you know, and I got into Indiana recently, which I'm pretty pumped about that. And that's going to be a lot more big woods, hill kind of country hunting,
Yeah,
which I've hunted ridges and hills, but not quite like this. So I'm pretty pumped about that
yeah,
challenge now, right? So, but it is fun to even in the different terrain and even in the different state and properties. There's still they still use the property very much the same. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So that the more properties I've gotten to, the more consistencies I'm finding, which has made it easier to find deer.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just about finding
It
the
is
one.
exactly, and then it's about
Yeah.
finding the one. Yeah.
Right. Well, man, I love the answers. I can't wait to have you back on if you're willing. Maybe like during season, we'll just do a follow up with you, see how things are going. Where can everybody follow you or contact you at, man? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So Tactical Approach Outdoors, all of my channels will be under that name. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You can send me a message on any of those. Send me an email. You know, if you have a question about anything, I don't even care what it is. If you're new to hunting, if you've got, you know, if you're following this deer and you're just having issues with this one couple puzzle pieces, you know, whatever. If you've got a question, I love talking to people and just helping people be successful. and you can find my website is tacticalapproachoutdoors.com. So we've got a couple workshops coming up. One's in Illinois and one's in South Dakota here in the next couple of weeks. So we're pretty excited about
Sweet.
that. That's going to be fun, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. If you're in the Illinois area or in South Dakota, make sure you hit Austin up. He's a wealth of knowledge, a super good guy. Thank you again, man. I really appreciate you jumping on here. I'm sure your schedule is crazy right now, so thank you so much. And we look forward to having you on
I
next time.
appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to this podcast, and I look forward to the next one.
Thanks, brother. All right, guys. We'll catch you all next time. Appreciate you listening.